This morning I need to cut the limbs around this tree. I don't cut them off because it helps keep the donkeys off the tree. That's a smooth bark olive tree. It's a Russian olive. That was cute. It's a Russian olive tree, and they like to eat on smooth bark, the donkeys. So I'm just trimming that back because when we walk through here, we'll hit it. And some of it is quite thorny. So I just want to cut it back, and that way we won't rub our arms up against it.
Alright, I got her out here working. It's my turn to be behind the camera. But she's cutting the thorns out of the way because I come through here sometimes at night if I let Ben out in the driveway, and those thorns are getting in the way on that tree.
Tell them how the donkeys like to eat it.
Yeah, the donkey, this is a Russian olive. I don't know if she said or not. They're not a real pretty tree, but they're about like a Chinaberry tree. In the springtime, they put out like a perfumey smell of the flowers, or something like honeysuckle or Chinaberry, if you know what that is. They smell real good, and they're a real drought resistant tree. And up there, the doves like them. If you can see it, I'll go in, and there's a dove on a nest right there. She thinks it's springtime. She's been real still. They're kind of used to us walking around here, but they like these trees. They're good protection from the hawks. They're thick. There was a line of them when we bought this place going north here, and I cut them, most of them down, because they on behind Susie there, they went right across the lateral line, and I didn't want them on that. Because they'll penetrate a lateral line. But anyway, they put out a little berry. I guess it's called a Russian olive, but it's a little bitty berry in the summertime. And the chicken, well, the donkeys like them too. The chickens eat them. Here's some old ones that's left over from last year. They're not very big, and I don't even know what they taste like, but they're probably like tumbleweeds. They come over from Russia a long time ago, I guess. I don't know. But they're real drought resistant. And this is a good shade for the back porch. We got an olive tree there and an elm. Elms do good out here because they're kind of drought resistant. American elms anyway. I think there's a Chinese elm that doesn't do as well. And we got another elm there, but anyway, she's cleared me a path where I can walk here.
That looks like better.
And this hose that we've got here, that's not sewage. What it is, we've got a reverse osmosis system under the kitchen sink for drinking water, to purify the water coming out of the well. We have filters on the well, but then we've got the reverse osmosis, and basically what it does, it gets rid of the contaminants. It's a filtering system. It's got micro filters in it and a little pressure tank under the sink, and it dumps the excess water. Occasionally it's just in drips, but out here you take advantage of any water you can. So we run a hose from outside of the wall of the house. Normally you just dump it in the sewage or your septic tank, and we thought, well, why throw it away in the septic tank? Put it out here on these three trees, and they've done well on this. We don't water them hardly any at all. We just move this hose around. And we've got a low area here.
Both of them are drought resistant.
And both of them are drought resistant, so they don't need a lot of water. Elm does very well out here. They usually find them in depressions where they do get a flood sometimes, or runoff water, but they'll go for a long time without water. But anyway, that's just some of the stuff we do around here on a daily basis.
That's all I'm going to do here.
That's good enough.
Make your walkway.
Okay.
Bill's bringing the clippings out.
This, a lot of people might think, oh no, you don't do that. Well, the horses won't really, they'll nibble at this a little bit and then they'll go on. They don't really care, but donkeys are natural browsers.
Well, they are wood
They'll
eaters.
eat grass, but they browse on everything. Where they've been catching them in Nevada and in Grand Canyon and in the high desert, the desert Southwest, that's why they've proliferated, because they eat anything. They sample everything in their environment, and that's why there's so many of them. There's a lot of them in the western states. There used to be a lot of them out here. I don't think there's any out west of us anymore, but I think I done a story about that. I knew fellas that lived here as young kids that told me about when they'd go out there and catch them and use them to catch wild cows. They'd make a makeshift corral, and that sounds maybe strange, but in these large areas, that's what you do. Nowadays, I guess if you've got enough money, you just buy a bunch of corral panels and take them with you to a remote place like that. But back then, you made a corral, or you would find a box canyon and hem it in. People seen that on movies. Well, that's the way you did it to catch wild horses or donkeys. But they would catch those donkeys and feed them. They'd take a bag of sweet feed and feed them a few times, and those donkeys are just like dope addicts. Boy, they love sweet feed. and they'll come back to it. So they would rope the wild steers. They call them mavericks in television and stuff. But well, I guess that's the true word for it. But anyway, they were runaways that got loose separated from the main herd and just running wild. And anyway, they would rope them and have a donkey with them, and they would snub the donkey and the cow up together, almost neck to neck, and the donkey would drag those cows back, and they wouldn't get big cows. They'd probably get heifers and young steers or young bulls, and but those donkeys would drag them back to that sweet feed. Yeah. And they said it worked. When they were young, they'd make a lot of spending money that way. This was back before it was a government land. It was just wide open. There were ranches out there, but there was a lot of wide open land out there that nobody had. And there was a lot of horses out, wild horses. Well, they called them wild horses. They were same thing as the donkeys. They were runaways or people. In this part of the country, you tend to, if you got the ranches, the room, when you're not using the horses, they just turn them out. We run across them many times on trips, and a lot of times the horses will come to you when you drive in because they think you're bringing them something to eat. And,
hey, no.
But there was a few hundred of them out here several years ago, and they caught most of them. I've heard that there's still some out there, but they caught them and took them to the fairgrounds in the nearest city and had a raffle.
And they call it Mustangs, but they're just ranch horses.
They were ranch horses that had got loose, and it's such a big area out there that the people that owned them could never find them again. Some of them just naturally go wild, and then they displaced all the ranchers out there when the military took it over.
Oh, another government.
Yeah.
Yeah, Don't
And,
get into the government.
they didn't have, some of them didn't have time to get all their livestock. There was a lot of cows left out there,
Yeah.
and all the horses. And the horses, there is a lot of mountain lions in that mountain range out there. Matter of fact, they take them out of that mountain range and reintroduce them in places, several places in the United States, because there's so many. At one time, they took a couple way north, I think up into Colorado or Wyoming, to reintroduce them to that area that was, there's not very many anymore. At that time, there wasn't very many. They found one of them found their way all the way back here. One of them got as far as Albuquerque before it was captured. They put collars on them, tracking collars on them. But one got all the way back here. Now that's off limits. Those mountains are like a refuge. And I guess the only people that go in there is government bureaucrats. I don't know. They used to let people go out there on the weekends if there wasn't anything going on. And I knew a fellow that retired from out there. He wanted me to take him out there on horseback and take it back in the canyons on a trip, but I was afraid. He was 82, 83, I think, when he was asking me, and I was a little bit leery of it. I was afraid he'd get hurt.
Yeah.
Because it's some of the trails out there are pretty rough. And but anyway, I don't think they let anybody out there anymore. They've had some accidents, people getting hurt, and it's a remote area. And two, they've got a lot of classified stuff going on out there, I guess. I think they do. They have in the past. So they don't want people out there
being nosy,
skulking around, being nosy. But there's no donkeys anymore out there that I know of. And Annie's getting really serious over here.
She's ready to eat her treats.
Yes, she's ready. So Humble Duffy's out here, and
What's Daddy got?
Her and Gus will nibble on these quite a bit. The horses might a little bit and give them up, but they like them. They'll chew them up, and it won't hurt them. So if anybody's wondering, they can eat a lot of stuff, and usually they won't eat things that are bad for them.
And a lot of animals are like that.
Yeah, the goats are like that somewhat.
And chickens, they're
horses
real good.
Not so much. Horse will eat anything that's put in front of it. They'd probably eat a ball of strychnine. They're just eaters.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get busy.
Yeah, and when Jake and little Cat was babies, we had this black donkey called Johnny, and a coat is strong, so to halter break them, we just tied a coat to Johnny, and he halter broke them for us. It just a lot easier than them dragging you all around, because he was so strong. And if he wanted water, that coat better get some water right then, because he's going to drag that coat over to the water. And if it didn't drink then, it's just too late.
Yeah, you got to snub them up pretty close together, otherwise they'll get their foot tangled between them and the rope. You have a short rope from collar to collar, or halter to halter, whatever you want to call it. And you need to really put them in a small area where you can observe them. We've done it with our colts. Both of these, little Cat and Jake, were trained off of Maggie.
No, off Johnny.
Oh, off of Johnny, yeah. We had a gelding, looked something like Annie, and we used him to halter break when they were yearlings. And it's just real slick, works real easy, but I do stay close where I can keep an eye on them. And it takes a lot of load of work off of you.
It does.
Sit down and in a chair and
well, we'd leave them on there about an hour with you.
Yeah, we don't do it all day. We do about an hour or so at a time, and do it all for about a week, and
they're done.
They know that halter is
yeah, and they'll try to fight the donkey, and that donkey will put his brakes on, because donkeys are really strong.
Yeah.
And he'll put his brakes on, and just like a coat pulling against the post, he won't budge. The more that coat pull, the more the donkey will freeze. And they learn, you better, walk. When that donkey wants to walk, he's going to drag that coat. And it teaches that coat, oh, I better walk. Here we go.
Yeah, when
It's real good work.
when Little Cat was a yearling, well, she wasn't any bigger than these donkeys. She was longer legged, but she wasn't as husky built. She was slim built, and she fussed around a lot. But everything worked out good. But to me, the thing is, you need to be able to observe them. I don't leave them out there on their own. I want to get in there, and in case they get tangled or something, I want to get in there to get it straightened out before something bad happens.
Yeah.
I don't just go off and leave them. But it saves me a lot of hard work.
It does. Saves a lot of work.
A lot of people on young colts, they do what they call a bonding thing when they're real young, and that's okay. That if you got the time for it.
Or they'll snub them up with a horse.
Yeah.
And drag them around.
But with the donkeys, it's very little scuffling around that goes on.
Yeah.
It's they just give in to that donkey, and donkeys are not aggressive. The ones we've had, there probably is some, but we've always had good ones. We've been lucky, I guess. But it works.
It works.
It saves a lot of work, and I've got enough to do. We both got enough to do with that. But we probably won't ever do it anymore.
And you just lead them around with their halter, and they just come with you after a donkey's worked on them.
Yeah, I see she's eating it up right there.
Yeah, she likes
They
it.
really like stuff like that. We've had them out on pack trips, and after we get going a ways where we know they're going to stay with us, we just turn them loose. We go where nobody else is around. We don't go where the crowds are at. And after a while, we turn them loose with their packs on them, and they follow. But they'll stop and pick at stuff along the way, just like that. I don't think they'll eat loco weed. They usually won't. They might sample stuff, or smell of it. But if it's bad, they won't eat it.
I tell them that when them horses got drunk when we was camping out. Not right now, but some other time.
Yeah,
at drunk horses.
Yeah, that's a long story.
Boy, it is.
And, it was a long pack trip, and
try to ride a drunken horse. Oh my gosh.
A bunch of drunkards.
They were. Yeah. Well, anyway, they're gonna have their snack. Well, thanks for watching from Out West Homestead. And you see that the horses are not interested in the limbs. They might come over, shoo them away later and try them, but it's the donkeys that like the wood. I just wanted to show how you can make a flower out of sticks. And people sit around, and you might see somebody get their pocket knife out, and then they'll cut a piece of wood, sit out on the porch or something, or just working on the wood. I want to show a trick. I'm not good at it, but I'm sure I'm not, because I hadn't done this in many years. But this is how you make a flower out of a piece of wood. You can use all different sizes. It don't matter. This is a willow, and the best way is find slick bark type of wood at the end of the tree where it don't have no bark on it. This is a pretty big one. Usually I cut them about this big, but I made this extra big. So you just take your, like I said, I haven't done it in a long time. If you got a sharp pocket knife, you just take your wood down like this. And you just keep on going down with it. And you go all the way around. When this dries, you could drill a hole and put this on a stick and make it like a little something out in your flower bed. Different colors. Anyway, you just keep going around. And I'm probably not doing it as good as I used to. Somebody says, oh, I can't carve. But you could give somebody a wooden flower. Carved flower. You just keep carving it. I was better at it, but I hadn't done it in a long time. I like to do it when it's green. You just keep going. Kind of bend it down a little. You could spray paint these or hand paint them and give them to somebody you care for, and they'll appreciate you carving out a flower for them, or somebody in the hospital. Go, look what I made you. Get better soon. And they'll cherish it and go, oh my gosh. But anyway, this is a little bit pitiful, but if I kept making these, they would get better and better. I just hadn't done it in a long time. And if you make a bunch of them, you could drill a hole right there and put a little stick in there, and you know, put them in your gardens or anything. Paint them red. How many birds would you'd be fooling them? But anyway, that's how you make a flower. I wish I'd done it better, but I hadn't done it in about 20 years. So, thanks for coming by. I'll see you. Bye.